The story unfolds in a remote forest of Australia, where companies like Torrent Mining have polluted the natural resources for years. However, for a group of campers, the toxic creek is far from their biggest worry. Something sinister has happened inside one of the tents, and the unfortunate occupant didn't survive the night. The cause? A mysterious demonic kangaroo lurks nearby, but Sheriff Madity remains unaware, going about her usual day, focused on upholding her father's legacy. Besides being a war hero and sports idol, Murray was also a beloved police officer in town. Deep in the forest, a man named Schmitty is hunting with his loyal dog, Ralphie. Noticing the presence of an animal nearby, he begins to advance quietly. As he prepares to shoot, Ralphie suddenly starts barking furiously, but Schmitty ignores him, keeping his focus on the target. Just as he inches closer, the prey turns on the hunter. Terrified, Schmitty manages to steady himself and fires a shot at the creature. Maddie is at the pub corner, chatting with some locals, when Schmitty arrives. He parks in the middle of the street and begins telling her about the attack, describing the attacker as a possessed kangaroo. Only making things worse, he shares that he nicknamed the creature Rippy. Schmitty insists that everyone is in mortal danger, recounting how he shot the kangaroo at point-blank range, yet it still remains standing. He wraps up his plea by saying Ralphie is missing and suspects the monster attacked him. Maddie, unconvinced, just tells him to move the van and then heads inside to break up a fight. Tim and Ricky are two Torrent employees who have had too much to drink, and even Supervisor Dave's presence doesn't make them behave. Tim wears an eye patch and gets annoyed when Ricky starts calling him a pirate. He interrupts their bickering upon seeing the sheriff with her arms crossed in front of them, but Ricky doesn't show her the same respect. Not tolerating their disrespect, Maddie drags both of them outside and takes the car keys, suggesting they walk home instead. As they leave, grumbling, Maddie chats with her Aunt Donna, who used to be married to Schmitty. Donna also reacts with disbelief to the report about the immortal kangaroo, and they comment on the incident as if it were more proof of Schmitty's sad mental state. Still far from home, the two rowdy men continue their mutual taunts until Ricky claims he needs to relieve himself. Tim shines his flashlight around, feeling suspicious of the abnormal silence in an area that typically teems with small animals. Passing the beam of light through the bushes ahead, he notices a pair of eyes shining in the dark, and fear grips him. Ricky turns to reassure his friend that it must just be an animal. But he doesn't finish speaking before being tackled and dragged away. A ferocious roar accompanies the sudden attack. Now, Tim is utterly terrified as he runs as fast as he can, but the kangaroo effortlessly catches up to him, with no one nearby to hear his screams. The next day, Maddie answers a call from Dave and finds him waiting with Donna. He explains he got worried about the two employees and went looking for them, thinking they might have fallen asleep under a tree. Shocked to discover what remains of Tim, he searches the underbrush nearby and soon finds Ricky as well. Examining the state of both, the sheriff admits she has never seen anything like it. Donna suggests it could be a pack of wolves or even a crocodile, but they're too far from the water, and Maddie insists there are no wolves in the area. Dave states that whoever did this had enough strength to drag two men like they were rags. Maddie theorizes that someone must have run them over and fled, leaving the duo at the mercy of hungry wildlife. Donna proposes calling an ambulance or the coroner, but Maddie says that won't happen since the area is hard to access. No one will send an ambulance for dead folks, and the coroner is busy with a series of wildfires. This awful situation worsens with Schmitty's arrival, deeply lamenting that no one listened to his warnings. In his opinion, this can only be the work of a zombie kangaroo. Donna scolds her ex-husband, reminding him that two people lost their lives, and it's not the time for nonsense. Maddie asks how he ended up at the crime scene, and he replies that he is still looking for his dog. He tries to get his niece's attention to the marks on the ground, but she just wants him to leave, and he obeys, upset. Hours later, the funeral agent does what he can to assist Maddie, operating far beyond his skills. He admits he can't determine what caused such damage, but points out a bite mark on Ricky's neck. Maddie then receives a call from a colleague who reads the lengthy criminal record of Reuben Williams, one of the new Torrent employees. After listing a series of minor offenses, he mentions a serious incident that resulted in fatalities. The sheriff calls Dave to explain the situation, warning him that she intends to interrogate the suspect. Upon arriving at the mining company, she notices Reuben's size and immediately asks where he was the night before. When he refuses to answer and requests a lawyer, she becomes even more convinced that she has found the culprit. Later at the pub, we see that the news has already spread. An elderly lady says she has forbidden her son from running at night until the case is resolved. Confident that the danger has passed, Maddie assures them that the wrongdoer is behind bars, encouraging Troy to train peacefully and asking him to bring a trophy to the town. Excited by the news, Troy wastes no time and resumes training that very night. Unfortunately, his headlamp won't be much help against the sharp fangs of the monster that is already lurking along the trail. Hearing the creature's demonic screeches, the boy picks up the pace until his rhythmic run turns into a frantic escape. His mother is setting the dinner table when the chase ends with a horrifying scream. Meanwhile, Maddie is flipping through old photo albums, reminiscing about her father. The newspaper clippings recount his heroic end, where he sacrificed his own life to save Maddie from drowning in a creek. The nostalgia is interrupted by a call from Troy's mother, saying he hasn't returned from his run. She is very worried as the boy never takes this long. When Maddie arrives, the woman has already found her son and is in tears. Maddie becomes even more devastated as she starts blaming herself, reminding the mother that the sheriff allowed the night training and promised it would be safe. Donna tries to comfort her niece, and the two end up going back to Schmitty's account. They think Schmitty's imagination may have distorted the facts, but perhaps he might have really seen some kind of wild animal. The sheriff admits she saw the same marks on the ground near where Troy was found, and they match kangaroo tracks. Ready for a strange conversation, Maddie goes to Schmitty's trailer. He arrives, apologizing for the mess, and mentions that he still hasn't found Ralphie. Then, Maddie tells him what happened to Troy. With unexpected wisdom, Schmitty comforts the sheriff, acknowledging the heavy burden of the uniform she wears. Maddie informs him that a group will head out early to hunt for the possible monster kangaroo. Pleased to hear this, Schmitty agrees to join them in the morning. He shows up well-equipped and ready to help hunt the fearsome predator. The group consists of volunteers, all Torrent employees. Dave also volunteered to help, stating that these youngsters are his responsibility. Donna insists on participating as well, despite the awkwardness of encountering her ex-husband. Dave and the guys travel by jeep to one side, while Maddie covers the opposite area with the ex-couple. In the middle of the afternoon, Maddie begins to feel disappointed with the lack of results, and the two start laughing at Schmitty's snoring. He soon wakes up to justify himself. As darkness approaches, Maddie warns that this is the last stop before returning to the meeting point. They realize they are nearing the camping area, and not very tactfully, Schmitty mentions that they are close to the spot where Murray passed away. When the three hear something moving stealthily, they separate to investigate. Maddie ends up finding the tent that was attacked. Dave's group is already returning when one of them spots an animal and shoots. The four of them go out to check and find a fallen cow. The guy swears it was moving before, but the girl named Jenny finds that hard to believe, especially with the huge wound in its belly. Dave starts to get worried, telling the others to stay quiet and turn off their flashlights. One of the guys asks if he saw something, and Dave replies that's not the issue. He's worried that something will see them. Still, he decides to split the group, sending each in a different direction. Whoever finds something should shout for the others. At the camping area, the trio arrives at the contaminated creek, and Schmitty remarks that the water smells like the beast. The odor is so strong that the other two don't argue with him, and Donna suggests it must be related to leaks from Torrent. At the same time, Dave's group is about to find what they're looking for. One of the guys is suddenly attacked, prompting the others to rush to his aid. Jenny is horrified to see the kangaroo devouring her colleague and immediately fires at the creature, but the bullets seem to have no effect. The mutant kangaroo kills the other man, leaving Jenny with no choice but to flee for her life while Dave remains standing near the jeep. As Jenny approaches, the bouncing monster follows her, closing the distance with each leap until it finally knocks down its prey. All the talk about being a protector of the youth vanishes, and now Dave only thinks about saving himself. He jumps into the jeep while Jenny is being consumed and drives off in a panic, terrified of the kangaroo's threatening roar. He nears the camping area when the creature attacks the jeep, causing a collision. Maddie and the other two hear the crash and rush to see what happened. The jeep is overturned when they arrive, and Dave is barely alive. Maddie still tries to save him, but Donna realizes there's nothing more to be done. Distressed by yet another loss, the sheriff returns to the car, remembering the day she lost her father so close to that spot. She tells her aunt that everyone around her ends up with a tragic ending and that she can't save anyone. Then Schmitty says it's time to reveal a secret, telling her that she had nothing to do with Murray's death. He was drunk that day and hit his head on a rock when he entered the lake. Maddie refuses to believe this version and insists he saved her, but Schmitty reminds her that she's always been a great swimmer, so there was no real danger. The townspeople believe the fantasy because it's what they want to hear about the sheriff. Donna gets mad at Schmitty for revealing the truth and insists Maddie shouldn't remember him like that. However, the posthumous dilemma will have to wait because the zombie kangaroo has just appeared at the car window. Schmitty tells the two to stay still and quiet while the beast slams into the side of the vehicle with all its might. Maddie wants to get out of there, but Schmitty says that's a terrible idea. There's a chance the kangaroo doesn't know there are people in the car. They are still deciding what to do when the monster's head bursts through the back window. Schmitty tries to protect himself while Maddie fires several times. The kangaroo backs off and even topples over, giving Maddie a chance to step on the gas. However, she quickly brakes when she sees in the rearview mirror that the creature is already getting back up. Its resilience is impressive. But Donna is even more shocked when her niece turns the car around and speeds away. The kangaroo jumps off the road at the last second, and Maddie loses control of the steering, crashing into a tree. Schmitty announces that he will check the perimeter while the two talk. Maddie is still upset about the lie concerning her father and begins to cry, apologizing. When Schmitty returns, the sheriff is forced to admit that this kangaroo seems impossible to kill and that the townspeople need to be informed about such an unprecedented threat. The three then proceed on foot to the trailer, always checking their surroundings with flashlights. Arriving at Schmitty's modest home, Donna feels awkward upon seeing her photo still in the frame. The plan now is to call for reinforcements and then return to the town. But Schmitty warns that the battery is dead and the generator is outside. Maddie says she will go out and asks him to use the radio as soon as the power is back. Then the sheriff starts to cross the underbrush with maximum care. Trying not to make any noise in the trailer, Schmitty attempts to talk to Donna, expressing that he thinks about her often. Still hurt, she explains that it's too late for a conversation. During the 20 years they spent together, he never wanted to open up about the horrors he experienced in the war. Instead, he kept running off for radical adventures, as if he still needed the adrenaline of combat. Schmitty then admits that the divorce was the worst thing that ever happened to him. Surprised to hear this, Donna begins to realize that he has always loved her, but never felt worthy enough. Smiling, she lowers her guard and even takes his hand. Meanwhile, Maddie finally reaches the generator and, hearing Ralphie's barking, is overjoyed to see her old friend. As soon as she powers on the generator, light fills the trailer and Donna goes straight for the radio. Schmitty leaps for joy as he finally reunites with Ralphie, while Maddie heads out to fetch the battery. On her way, she passes a goat tied up and bleeding heavily, the sight making her pause. Inside, Donna manages to reach someone on the radio who assures her that patrol cars are en route, but she worries that no one from the pub has responded. Outside, the kangaroo moves closer, its stealthy approach betrayed only by the goat's increasingly distressed bleeding, which catches Maddie's attention. Maddie rushes back with the battery, urgently calling to the others. As soon as they pile into the van, the kangaroo appears right in front of them. Maddie barely has time to jump into the back seat before the creature circles around. Schmitty starts the engine, and she fires several shots as the van speeds away, leaving the beast behind. At the pub, the once lively chatter falls silent as the trio steps through the door, looking as though they've come straight from a war zone. Maddie, with a steady voice, explains that 4 people were lost on their mission, and that a monstrous kangaroo is still on the loose. Meanwhile, the beast is already bounding toward the town. Schmitty, stationed at the front of the pub, spots its shadowy figure moving through the darkness and begins shouting. Everyone scrambles inside as Maddie orders them to lock the doors and barricade all entrances. Patrons hurriedly drag furniture to block the main door. Maddie and Donna feel a surge of relief at the sound of a siren, but disappointment follows quickly when they see it's just one car, occupied by a single officer. The officer is Stan, and Maddie recognizes him immediately. Maddie realizes Stan has no idea what he's walked into. He casually exits his cruiser, calling for her with a puzzled expression. Maddie shouts from inside the pub, warning him to stay in the car, but her voice doesn't reach him. As he turns, the monstrous kangaroo is already right next to him, and the pub patrons watch in horror as Stan meets a terrible fate. His tragic loss, however, shocks everyone into a grim awareness of the danger closing in around them. The kangaroo charges the front door, making it clear just how dire the situation is. Panic breaks out as Schmitty directs everyone, including Ralphie, toward the basement for safety. Meanwhile, Maddie sits calmly by the counter, causing Donna to fear that she's finally cracked under pressure. Maddie starts talking about her father, and Donna gently reminds her that while the lie was wrong, even if he had saved her life, it wouldn't justify how she's lived ever since, forever trying to repay a debt she invented herself. Maddie tells her aunt to stay hidden and braces herself for the confrontation, with Schmitty refusing to leave her side. As the barricade starts to collapse, they desperately try to reinforce it, but the kangaroo bursts through, forcing them to crawl behind the counter where Donna is hiding. The creature inches closer, sniffing them out, so Schmitty tosses an object to distract it. Just as it seems to be working, Ralphie starts barking from the basement, and they realize with horror that the others are far from safe downstairs. Fueled with resolve, Maddie steps out from behind the counter, firing her gun and managing to shoot out one of the monster's eyes. Donna frantically rings the bell to distract it, while Schmitty hands Maddie an axe. She swings with all her strength, striking until the kangaroo's other eye closes and it finally collapses. The three embrace in relief, and the townspeople cautiously emerge from the basement, while Ralphie sniffs the lifeless creature. But the next day, just when they think the terror is over, Reuben hears screams from his cell as the funeral agent is attacked by the undead victims of the kangaroo.